Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Cult Classics Podcast. Ho, ho, ho. Cameron Jones here, along with my co-host,
Mark Nussle.
Jordan Jones.
And we're going to be kicking off the holiday season with a little bit of a soft one here, not heavy on the Christmas theme.
It's a good segue.
It's a good lead up. This one's coming to us by request from our listener Rose. She also pointed out that we recast Elizabeth Hurley a lot. Or Elizabeth Banks a lot, sorry.
We do.
Yeah, we rarely do Elizabeth Hurley.
Now we can.
Well, now I'm going to try Elizabeth Hurley.
A Christmas Rose.
But we're going to kick it off with the 2002 movie, Catch Me If You Can. Having difficulties in accepting his parents' divorce after an investigation to his father by the IRS, 16-year-old Frank Abiganale Jr. goes on the run and embarks on one of the greatest frauds against the United States. He develops a number of clever check fraud schemes, all while impersonating and working professionally as a pilot, doctor, and lawyer before his 18th birthday. Hot on his trail is FBI agent Carl Handratty, a no-nonsense agent who works tirelessly to bring the young criminal to justice. Based on the true story of Frank Abiganale Jr., Catch Me If You Can.
Directed by Steven Spielberg, the guy who brought you E.T., Jurassic Park, Hook. Starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Tom Hanks, Christopher Walken, Martin Sheen, Amy Adams.
Great score, great acting, great directing, beautiful set design, amazing cinematography and lighting. Come on, just tell me. Where you going?
Catch Me If You Can.
Okay, casting crew. Like we said in the intro, this movie is directed by Steven Spielberg. A big name there.
Go back and see our Jaws too. I mean, there's so many
Jaws.
movies
We did Jaws,
can.
Hook, yeah.
Just you know who Steven Spielberg is. I don't feel like we have to harp on him.
And Hook?
Yep,
That's only
Hook.
Spielberg so far, right?
Jurassic Park.
Did we do Jurassic Park?
Oh yeah, we did
sure.
do Jurassic Park.
First, let's do the writers are Jeff Nathanson. I'll touch on him in a sec. Frank Abiganale Jr. did the book, so that's kind of where this all came from. And Stan Redding actually was the author of the book. It's based off of Frank Abiganale Jr.'s life.
Supposedly.
Somewhat.
I mean, it's got source material.
There's source material. Music by John Williams.
Oh,
Love
that
the
makes
main
sense.
motif.
Maybe why the score's so great. Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm pretty sure it's used John Williams since Jaws. Such a good score, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Onto the cast. Leonardo DiCaprio plays Frank Abiganale Jr.
Of course, he won your hearts with Titanic. Go back and see that episode. But my favorite movie of his might be Inception.
And he lost your trust in The Beach, but don't worry.
Yeah.
We're about to get away from it. He didn't lose your trust, but he didn't gain anything there.
What's bookended this movie? Where are we at here?
So here's where we're at with him, right? He had Titanic. He had some weird stuff before here. So he did Man in the Iron Mask, The Beach, Gangs of New York. That gave him credibility because it was a Scorsese movie. I think that one kind of has mixed reviews. And then we hit it off with Catch Me If You Can and just go on a tear with The Aviator.
What was after that one?
J. Edgar. I mean, those are like the two biggest
Shutter
ones.
Island,
But 2002,
was that after
Shutter
that?
Island.
Shutter
was in
Island's
there.
actually where he lost me. I hated that movie, but
The Departed,
the
Departed,
Wolf of Wall
Revolutionary Road,
Wolf of Wall Street.
Django.
I mean,
Street. You know who
he
Leo
eventually
is.
got hooked up as Scorsese's guy, at least for the last 20 years.
Django Unchained. He also got in with the Tarantino crew.
What did he finally win for?
He won,
He won
for,
one
the
for The Reverend.
The Revenant. That's what I thought. Got it.
He
Just
got
wanted
molested by a bear, and they're like, that seemed like tough.
That was
Seemed
tough.
like tough acting.
Tom Hanks plays Carl Handratty, the main agent.
I mean,
after him.
Where to even begin? I would say maybe you go back and see our Burbs. See That Thing You Do. Saving Private Ryan, of course. Forrest Gump, if that's your chocolate. Castaway, of course.
Christopher Walken plays Frank Abiganale Sr.
I mean, if we want to go back, Deer Hunter. If you go back and see our Legend of Sleepy Hollow, he's the Headless Horseman in that.
Ah!
You know, you all know the
No,
moment.
he has no words in that one. And also go back and listen to our Blast from the Past.
Oh, I love me some
yeah.
Blast from the Past.
It's a good one.
More recently, I mean, this is like 2012, but Seven Psychopaths. Wait, never mind. I was going to say, no, he's in Click. He's the crazy guy in Click.
Yeah, is the remote guy. He's God or the angel.
Yeah.
Christopher
I
Walken.
haven't seen that movie in forever. I'll just kind of keep going here. There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of extras. You can go and there's a bunch of people in here, but we'll go kind of more notable. Martin Sheen plays Roger Strong, Brenda's father.
He's popped up definitely on the podcast before, but is it just me recasting, or have we done
Probably
something
recasting. He's in The Departed. But
Recasting, and we've not done The Departed, so yeah, it's just about that.
Apocalypse Now, one of his, older.
Oh,
hits.
you know where he comes up most of the time? You switch his name with Martin Short.
I know. I think that's possibly just why.
easy to do.
I get it. And they're both short-statured men.
Paula Abigale, the mom, is played by Natalie Bay. I don't recognize her from much. I feel like she's a big role in the film. I feel like I had to at least.
I assume
touch
she's in a
on
bunch of French movies that we've never seen. Is my guess.
Could be.
An Affair of Love, Venice Beauty Institute, Lawrence Anyways. Yeah.
Thanks for the sandwich,
Lawrence
Paula.
I recognize none of these. I know her from this.
Brenda's played by Amy Adams. I really liked her in Arrival. I like Arrival a lot.
I wasn't a big fan of Arrival. It was.
I like it.
I feel like they were trying to be confusing for confusing's sake a little bit with the. I don't know.
I don't know if I have like an off-the-cuff favorite role of hers or not.
She's fine in as Superman, Lois Lane. That works for me.
Yeah.
The fight. She's kind of like a redneck in The Fighter.
Never seen The Fighter.
I
never seen.
She's the mom in Dear Evan Hansen, Cameron.
Oh, is she? I
the
never
movie.
did see the film. She's in Enchanted.
Film's not great.
I feel like Enchanted was her breakout role for sure.
Yeah, I would kind of maybe say
to
so as well.
Populous. Cameron though knew her from what is it? Party Beach at
Psycho
Cove?
Beach Party. Yeah, she does have like
Yeah.
a cult following because of that.
Special Agent Whitkins, kind of overseeing Carl Handratty, Chris Ellis. He's in Armageddon.
Oh yeah,
Jennifer.
Yeah, he's got that look. He's
It's a small role, but
in a little bit of time, he
Familiar
kind of
face.
straddled the Ron Howard slash Steven Spielberg universes. I'm pretty sure he's like an Apollo 13.
Okay.
Maybe.
He's a good control room guy,
yeah, that or
Yeah.
cop.
Would you like to see this movie directed by Ron Howard? Because I would too.
It'd be
to see.
fine as well.
Sure.
It'd be just as good.
It'd probably be very similar. It might be just a little less glossy, but
And these are kind of fun because this was before they sort of hit their stride as well. Ellen Pompeo is in this as one of the. Is she a nurse or she's a flight attendant, I think.
she's a flight attendant. She's like, no, and then
Grey's Anatomy. That's kind of mostly what I
Grey's
know
Anatomy.
her from.
That's her
she's
big
an
thing.
she's an old school.
Oh yeah, she is an old school.
Yeah, she's like the main love interest.
I actually didn't know she was in this until I kind of like delved.
You'd
through
completely forget if you didn't rewatch it.
Jennifer Gardner is whatever the model who was in the hotel who
I
tries
believe
to
that's
Cheryl.
a prostitute.
Famous for Alias, but Jordan calling out to you.
Woman of the night,
13
Jordan.
going on 30.
13 going on 30 was her breakout performance to me, right?
It really stuck with you.
Razzles. Love a good razzle. Elizabeth Banks plays one of the tellers.
Shout out to Rose. We don't have to recast her. She's in this one.
We'll recast her somewhere else. So.
That's all I really want to touch on.
Yeah, that's
There's
fine.
like 150 people in this movie.
Yeah, I'd say for people that speak and are relevant, that's enough.
Yeah, those are the standout stars. I'd say it's safe to move it on to Unverified. Welcome to the Cold Classics Movie Phone. It's December 25th, 2002, and currently in theaters you could have seen The Pianist,
Wah, wah.
Chicago,
And all that jazz.
2 Weeks Notice.
I like that movie. It's a dumb romantic comedy.
That's a fun movie. Gangs of New York, Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers,
Oh, that's a good one. That's a real good one.
About Schmidt, The Hot Chick. Also, I haven't seen The Hot Chick.
Well, Rob
You've
Schneider?
never seen The Hot Chick?
That's not true. You had
I just
TBS
don't think-
your whole life.
Shout out to our mom, Star Trek Nemesis. Maybe another one that Jordan might like, Made in Manhattan.
Don't like that one as much. I'm actually a 2 weeks noticer in that group. Made in Manhattan's kind of boring. It's got Ray Fiennes doing like an American accent
True.
and Jennifer Lopez.
But you chose Catch Me If You Can.
You chose right.
Oh, you sure did. You got box office on this one? I mean, it's not wrong to see The Pianist or Chicago. Those were all like Oscar.
No, it's
noms.
actually like a pretty star-studded. I mean, yeah. Let me get you. Give me one.
Lord of the Rings, Two
second.
Towers, not a bad call either.
Yeah, that was like all these would have been good. Again, something's disappeared, and we'll see this in the next 3 weeks. What movie are you going to see over the holidays? You don't have 7 options to move from. But this one, the budget was $52 million, which actually, to me, seems
Kinda
relatively low.
especially for the
cast. Given the cast and given what it looks to be like the production of it.
I have a fact later, but it's a lot of locations.
It makes $352.1 million at the box office. So they got a return on their investment.
That's a good point, Jordan. Think about that. Like, there's not going to be... Think of all those selections he just listed that you could have seen around Christmas time.
And would have seen eventually, probably within like 2 months, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what's nice is I feel like back in the day, mainstream movies like this started their Oscar run before what is now the Oscar season, which is like January through March. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like mid,
So you
late
could get
November.
it for the holiday time. And now there's just, everybody get your tickets to Wonka. Let me know how it is. Like, that's all that's coming out right now, I think. Yeah, it sucks.
I feel like the biggest fact we have to talk about are some of the inconsistencies. The main one being the FBI character Frank. The main inspiration was said to be taken from someone called Joe Shea.
Pronunciation check. Probably not Shea, but probably not Shay either.
Yeah, S-H-E-A. I don't know. That's what I'm going with.
Could be Shay.
But more on that, there really was no Carl Handratty. It was like a collection of FBI agents chasing him. And although
they made one character out of
Amalgamation.
an amalgamation of many different characters.
And I don't hate it.
And they're like,
it makes for a better story.
I get why you do it for a story, like streamlining, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But I do believe he did befriend somebody later on in his life.
Joe
that is that
Shea or
character.
Joe Shea.
Joe Shea, but it's like he wasn't there the whole time, right?
Yeah.
He was just the guy.
Mm-hmm.
The more I read about this Frank Abiganale guy,
Yeah.
not a big fan of it. Not Abiganale.
Oh no, he's just a con artist who, in my opinion,
like
he conned
seems like a
himself.
real
A
dick.
Spielberg movie is what he did.
Well,
done.
in that case, that's well done.
Yeah.
And a lot of corporate speaking gigs, I think, the rest of his life. That's what he does now, right?
He said this: until he saw the results of Leo's work, the real Frank didn't think DiCaprio was suave enough to play him.
That's a bold.
What an arrogant son of a bitch. Now, having that said, he just watched him, though, in Man in the Iron Mask. And for half of that, he was like, woo, woo, woo.
That's true.
But then he got out and he was like, good. So, you know. At that point in Leo's career, I'm not against Frank Abagnale's assessment. We didn't know. We didn't know until now.
We didn't know.
We didn't know how much.
I'll get it. I have a fact on that somewhere else.
That's why it's you're kind of like peeling the curtain back, which I'm not really loving.
Technology is catching up with him.
Yeah, well, just
things are
you're
being
showing me the
documented.
magician's tricks. I wish I believed in Santa's.
Onto that location thing I was saying, the production used 157 different locations throughout North America to get the vintage.
Seems like a lot.
Yeah, that's a ton. I mean, they had to get vintage 60s buildings and architecture. So, I mean, I get why, but wow, that's a lot.
That's probably a lot of the budget right there. It's just,
you know what it would be now? Couple set pieces and green screen. And it wouldn't be as good.
It'd be that screen that follows you with the actual, just like...
That's exactly what it would be. And you know what? The weird thing is their budget would be $200 million.
Yeah, that's true.
For some reason, it'd be way more, but it'd be easier to make.
Straight to Netflix.
Exactly. I'll save it, because that's a talking point I want to do.
I have another character point fact that I don't hate that they did it for the movie, but all of the stuff about Abignale's father being a hustler was made up. And also what was made up is after he ran out, when he found out his parents were getting divorced at 16, he never spoke to either of his parents ever again. So they just made up the entire interaction with Christopher Walken and all the Christmas meetings. But it doesn't matter because it doesn't ruin the movie for me. We have to accept that he's a con artist. He lied about most of this, and it just makes a great movie.
No, it doesn't ruin the movie for me either.
Not at all.
I think the biggest thing is he did defraud him for that amount of money, or close to what they say in the movie. That's the big thing, right?
Well,
it was close to that amount.
Most of his crimes were like against his family, and like he was kind of a stalker against some women. I guess it just wouldn't have been a pretty picture if it was the real story.
True. If we here, I found it here actually. It wasn't until 2021 that it was proven that that all of his major and minor cons portrayed in the film are either false or highly embellished. The truth was revealed over the last several decades by multiple unaffiliated journalists, documentary filmmakers, FBI officials, state officials, including state governors, medical institutions, individual victims of the crimes, and more. So a lot of people came forward to be like, that.
So all the questions and animosities we have with the story.
Well, when
just tell us,
when confronted with these facts, Frank has admitted to lying or embellishing the truth, though he generally avoids answering these questions.
He's a liar.
He's a con artist.
I lied. Duh. Get out of my face, reporter. You dirty journo. I do have an interesting fact about the Tom Hanks casting. Mm-hmm. Steven Spielberg was like, I really want Tom Hanks for this role, but I almost didn't approach him because I didn't think he'd take a side role or a supporting role. Right. And when approached, Tom Hanks like, a good role is a good role as long as it comes from Steven Spielberg. I'm filling that part in, but
and as long as I get a good portion of that $50 million.
I like that. That's kind of a stand-up move for Tom Hanks, though. I don't know.
Yeah, I always like
that. I like that move.
But let's say he's probably in his mid to late 40s here, right? He's already done everything, and this is a Spielberg movie, and it is a good role. So
yeah, I mean, a lot of things lining up there.
I get it.
Little fact as to why I think also just the set design, the whole aesthetic works so well. They had about 130 day players playing bit part acts, 3,000 to 4,000 background extras, and 100 costume changes throughout the film. And all of those people needed
that makes sense.
And all those people would have needed wardrobe. So, I mean, that's a bunch.
And it shows. It shows. The costume and set design is a large portion of this movie, as it is every movie, right? But this really...
period piece, yeah.
It really sparkles. Steven Spielberg, after reading the book, it resonated with him because when he was a young adult, he would just walk onto the Paramount lot with a suitcase and pretend that he worked there, and people eventually just let him in. And that's kind of how he got his foot in the door in the movie-making business.
You hear that,
People
everybody?
doing that on TikTok now. You just gotta, as long as you wear like a construction vest and have some confidence, it seems like you can get like to any festival or like sporting event.
Get anywhere, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of, people are like, what are you gonna do?
I read this before I watched the movie, and I forgot to remember it. I forgot it. All road and concrete surfaces are wet in every shot, even though the scenes take place in sunny weather. Apparently, dry roads tend to look dirty and rough and are visually distracting, whereas wet roads appear to be cleaner.
A lot of movie sets do that. It gives it better lighting, and not a lot of movies, but it kind of gives it a better lighting.
Super cool.
But I will say I did notice it kind of more so in this movie.
That's because the movie's so vibrant and oversaturated in the light,
the coloring and the light. Yeah.
I have an answer for you. Maybe how we saved so much money and only needed 50 million. The scenes in the French classroom were filmed at McKinley School in Pasadena during a 6-month break. And then when they were back in session, the crew ended up coming back to the school and removed a bunch of set pieces that the school had been using since they stopped filming.
So what'd that save them? $5,000?
I know something. I mean, vintage sets, so it's kind of weird they'd be using old desk and 60s stuff.
Yeah, if anything. The To Tell the Truth clip actually happened. Frank was a guest on To Tell the Truth. You can actually see the episode on YouTube. Go check that out.
I think I will after this.
I think I will as well.
I do believe if you own the DVD and bought it around this time, there's so many bonus features where they show you the entire episode on it.
Oh, cool.
So if you have a DVD, pop that in and give it a try.
If you have a DVD from 2002 to 2006, it's got it all on there. There is a cameo from the original Frank Abiganale Jr. You're going to notice him in the end scene. He's like the detective outside the printing press in Mount Rashad. What's it called?
Mount Rashad,
taking the character of himself.
He's the first French officer to approach him. I paused it for that, just to get a glimpse at the bastard.
Look at him.
Did you feel he was almost as smug as Jerry Seinfeld the entire run?
He kind of looks like somebody. He looks like Chevy Chase or something.
Yeah, a little bit older Chevy Chase. I get that.
I don't know, round face.
I mean, I'm not saying he was not a good actor or bad actor, but I'm he's like, this is my made-up life story. Yeah. I'm nailing this. I'm pretty good at this.
Tell a fish story about that.
The book that this was based on, when the film was released, it had actually been out of publication in print for several years. So naturally, they put it back into print. But they had to make an alteration to the end of the book to coincide better with the movie. Apparently, his truth had shifted a bit, and we wanted to make it a little better storytelling. I think it was just about making Carl a character.
Yeah, you needed somebody to play off against, because without that, I think the movie would lack, the back and forth that we all like. Someone catching you,
Along with that, I guess the call on Christmas, is Frank was like, I would never give myself away like that. Of course, you just, sometimes you got to lie in the book a bit.
The last kind of truth I have here that's a bit of a
Truth.
yeah, well,
It's not what this segment is.
unverified, true, but he was not taken in Mount Rashad in a epic standoff at a printing thing. Someone recognized him from a wanted poster in a grocery store, and he was arrested. That's it.
That's not as fun.
No. And I don't believe it was overseas. I think he was just stateside getting groceries, and someone was like, hey.
Leo was an ironic choice for the lead as Frank because the real Frank was resembled to look more like an adult at a young age, whereas Leo kind of is the opposite, looks like a kid.
When I was watching that, Meg and I were talking about it. He doesn't look
Old enough to do anything.
even when he's at the
At the same time,
he passes for high school.
and he doesn't also look young enough to play the young part, but I'll get to that in a second.
That's called 25 or however old he is. You're just in the middle.
They adapted it into onstage musical production on Broadway, and the person who played Frank Abiganale was Aaron Tveit, who's did Grease Live, Danny Zuko, and he's also in Schmigadoon.
Still haven't really checked it out that much.
But the director of Catch Me If You Can on Broadway did I think Hairspray and some other big ones too. So
Nice.
kind of interesting there.
I don't know. I mean, it's entertaining, but I don't know if I'd like this as a play, right? Because
Who can say?
the set piece of that cost maybe it'd be
Probably
good.
not, because
This
it's not going to
this
have
is no
Leonardo
shade.
DiCaprio, Tom Hanks, and Christopher Walken.
And we're missing one important aspect.
It's got
Steven
Adam
Spielberg
Tveit
directed.
from Schmigadoon.
It's got Adam Tveit from Schmigadoon.
Well, per usual, big star-studded cast, big director, lots of fun lore. But we're going to move it on to questions.
Comments.
I have no animosities.
QCA. We've said it a bunch, so I'll just get started with this. It's a great score from John Williams. It's a little different than what you usually get from him because it's very stylistic. So it's not, free balling John Williams doing exactly what he wants, but it's great.
It's time period stylistic with how we.
It's not really a noir movie, but with the crime and heistiness of it all, it kind of reminds me in the 60s, I guess, just maybe is what's putting me there.
It feels like a cat burglar in the 60s, somebody that might
Kind
wear a
of, yeah.
turtleneck that we're fun. I do want to say this.
Mr. Magoo.
Normally I wouldn't mention it, but I actually love the opening title sequence along with the score. It really sets the tone. I like that animation.
Love that.
Oh, it is.
It actually
That's
might be one of my favorite parts of the movie.
kind of
So
long.
sick.
It's almost James Bond-ish. It tells a whole story.
It does, but it's entertaining, unlike any James Bond beginnings.
I got a comment, maybe an animosity. Leo's a little too old to be playing that teenager at the beginning.
What are you gonna do?
It just
you
it
gotta.
looks off. Or maybe it's just how enamored he is with his father that it's off-putting or something. Something's weird about it.
Where your animosity lies. I feel like he's right there. It's just when he tries to act like he's a substitute teacher or a pilot or that's where it comes
also
in for
off.
me.
I think both sides of it are wrong. I agree.
I see where Cameron's coming back from a little bit that he's overdoing the childishness a little more than a teenager, but I think that happens when adults play younger people sometimes. But to Mark's point though, like everything else, man, he tears it up. He really jumps off the screen with the charm and the
Suave, some would say.
suave. Yeah,
The balls on that kid
Cares
to stand up in front of that class and
I think that's the craziest thing he did in the whole movie. It's not stealing from the government. That takes balls, because we didn't know he was a criminal yet. That's expulsion as a teenager. What a psycho.
I love that he was trying to schedule a field trip to a French bread factory. Like, why would you be that ballsy with it? Just keep it low key.
It was only a week, too. He had a student-teacher conferences within that week.
Yeah, Jesus, slow it down, Mr. Schneebly.
I can't be sure.
I was going to mention Mr. Schneebly.
The guy, Brad, that shoulders him, I'm not positive that he's the same guy from Remember the Titans that says, you've been a lot different since you became friends with black people, Bert here. But it is, and it isn't. I don't know if it's the same person, but doesn't it feel like it? You guys know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about, weird enough. Yeah, I'm following that.
I think it's the same guy.
In that same scene, let's put just the real story aside, real relationships between him and Carl, him and his dad.
Sure.
Just when he smirks after getting out of the principal's office with his dad, that little moment, like father-son con.
Yeah, but we find out it goes too far, though, when he's like, tell me to stop. Tell me to stop.
Having that said, up until that moment, great father-son relationship, right?
Yeah, not too shabby.
I do have a question based off the relationship. At what point do you think Christopher Walken, the dad character, knew That his son is like the whole time he knew he was conning from the get-go, from the first
he's
meeting
16
in like
and
the Waldorf.
he's 16 and he said he's becoming a pilot in like
Even
a
letters.
month. Yeah, he didn't believe any of it.
But like, did he know he was like completely scamming or just like lying to him? At some point, it transitioned.
I think it was completely apparent at the fancy lunch.
Yeah.
Okay, by then we knew.
When he's like, "Where are you going?" Someplace exact. I think that was. He's like kind of winked at him at the end, like,
Yeah, like
We're
whatever
all
you're
the-
doing,
They're all
keep it up.
suckers.
"We're all suckers here." Yeah.
But he was completely in favor of it the whole time. Don't give up, never stop, can't stop.
Ride it to the ground, ride it to the grave.
It's the second mouse. Be that second mouse.
All right, so now for the next 20 minutes, we're each going to
gonna
do
quote the
we're going to
movie.
do we're going to do a line reading of that.
I got an animosity possibly for you here. There are so many easier professions to impersonate and maybe get by. Doctor, lawyer, and like a pilot, you kind of need to know a lot of things for those. I get he wants money and status, but like, I don't know.
So I'm going to flip it because he never, onto that point, right? He never impersonates being a pilot. He just kind of cheats the system. The
fly,
other
that's
two
true.
professions he does, and I think the craziest one is doctor.
Yeah, that's insane. Like, you
Like,
don't think
there's,
there's
how
gonna be
can you fake it?
Yeah. Although,
Yeah, Cameron, that is a big gap between like substitute teacher and pilot. Like, there's something in between, like general manager of like a Subway or something.
yeah, well, granted, I don't know
I
how
don't
much
think
you
he
can
could do
heist from
that.
that. But
You'd have to do so much as a
He
general
just
manager.
steals from the cash register.
Yeah,
That's his con.
that's the way it would be. The thing about the doctor is obviously doesn't know any medical stuff, but he was like the chief out of like 20 people at night. Think how much paperwork he would have to do for that month or month and a half.
Yeah,
He
they
doesn't
have-
know how to do.
He has no idea how to do any of that.
I guess the answer is he just fakes it and doesn't do it, and they're like, man, nothing is getting done here.
I get that he's going for a money grab and he's just trying to get around, but they are crazy professions to try to take up.
But to that point, it's albeit maybe now all lies from the guy that wrote the book about his
It
life.
seems like at least 80%.
Well, so
It's so much more exciting that way, because if he did just con somebody as a bank teller or whatever, that's what makes this movie so exciting.
True.
I'm thinking like some of these professions like have like they grant you these checks, right? That you can cash. Where it seems where it seems like if you're an employee at a Chipotle or something, you're waiting for just your paycheck to.
Well, I suppose what they all have in common is, especially back then and even in today's standards, they're in quotes. Back then, way more respectable like jobs. It's like, oh,
True.
These guys can't do it. I mean, pilots were just a step down for astronauts, probably at that time.
Work
in the
in
60s.
a corporate office, hide in a corner, and just go in every day looking like the belle of the ball and just don't do anything.
He didn't want to work, guys.
didn't have to.
Wanted to cash checks and get high-end prostitutes in Manhattan and look like he was a kid. He couldn't work,
That's true. That's true.
but he was capable of learning a lot about checks, right? You know, how to make them. He really should have just gotten into the check-making game. I think that's what he was
That's what he
doing
did at
by
the end,
of
yeah.
movie.
Okay, you know what? Animosity against the parents. I'm finding animosities left and right here, Jordan. I'm siding with Leo here.
His parents?
Leo's parents. They did
Yeah,
a bad...
the animosities are going to be these compromised characters, Cameron. Those that got us into this mess for sure.
True. But before that, they did a bad job explaining that the divorce was happening. I will side with Leo
Okay.
on that. It was kind of confusing.
Just sign a name.
What
Yeah,
name
they
did
didn't
that?
explain it.
I wonder that, right? Because in the moment, you're like, this is just too rushed. Do you think it's from the point of view of Frank's memory of what happened? It could have been a week-long process. It's like, hey, we're really going to need you to think about this. Could have been an office. Like, I thought about that too, because the way it plays out on screen is rushed.
And weird, yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't run and go to crime, but I could see, I don't want to live with anybody. I want to fly in the sky. Come fly with me.
No, that was
That's
that was not very clear though. I agree.
Yeah.
I guess,
And the agent was kind of a dick about it. He's like, don't be, pull your pants up,
Yeah,
Sign a
no,
name.
I mean,
Grow up, sign a name.
hey,
You're
most of
16.
this is lawyer talk, but you got to decide. Why didn't just one of them decide? And it turns out, and I think the real answer is, as much as Frank Abiganale Sr. loved him, I can't be bouncing around single life with a kid. I got this new apartment. My wife's back in
Senior's
New
kind of
Rochelle
like,
or
go
whatever.
ahead, sign her name.
Yeah. Go with the mom. No wrong answer, but if you could sign that mom of yours.
Kind of got plans tonight, Frank.
just comment, without the internet, I would just be hopeless as Frank Abiganale Jr. I wouldn't be able to do a thing.
Oh, I'm actually the reverse. I see this movie, I'm like, gosh, I wish I could have lived before 1980 and just been a con artist, go town to town.
Well, I'm just even saying as far as, well, I agree with you, Jordan, but to Mark's point, I'm just saying, like, going to the interview, like, the flight, like, CEO of, like, Pan Am, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to need to Google what these badges are, and if I can't get that information...
You just got to watch old James Bond.
I did like how throughout the movie... when he didn't know how to do something. He watched a TV episode, he watched James Bond, he watched a movie, and he tried to replicate it. But he quite obviously failed, and the biggest example of that was in the courtroom. There should have been... I've got a question about that scene. Okay. After he goes through the whole... The people of the court, the people of the jury, I say this, whatever, that whole scene, the courtroom. And the judge is like, what in the Sam hell are you doing? That would get back to his father-in-law.
Yeah, like this
I think your son-in-law's an idiot. Like, you should really check. Like, maybe he's not a con artist and he hasn't done all this, but he's a real dumb idiot. Like, that would get back to him, right?
You'd assume.
I do remember reading, and this is when the movie came out, that he really did pass the bar exam, but that could all be fabricated now. Someone will understand it.
Can't be true.
Okay. I do believe New Orleans is one of those states where you don't have to go to law school. You can just take the bar and pass it, though.
Is that true?
Yeah, I think there's a handful of states where you don't have to go to law school and you can just take the bar exam.
Feels like you can, like how you can just go online and be like ordained and just marry anybody.
I'm ordained.
Yeah, you can marry anybody, but none of that
was.
I might be ordained from your basement.
Even if you go through the priesthood, like marriages don't count for anything until you go to a courthouse. Like you need the government to marry you. Anything else is just semantics.
I have some notary stamps, if that means anything. Is it safe to say, one, I think we all hate Frank's mom, and that if, one, she wouldn't have cheated and split up the family, he never would have started a life of crime, and two, if she wouldn't have given him up to Handratty and shown his face, he probably would have gotten away with it forever.
So Frank Abiganale Sr. is obviously a bad guy, and he did tax fraud, right?
It seems
but
so.
They depict him as at least a loving husband.
Yeah.
Who... may or may not have cheated. We don't know. Probably
it was, patriot and a war hero.
A loving dad, if not a good dad. But they never depicted her as anything like nothing nice or good or loving or anything to
Not
her.
really. But again, this is coming from
like the whole time.
It was such a sweet dance at Christmas time.
The worst part is how quickly, and again, I don't exactly know the timeline, but how quickly she cheats in the apartment they just moved into.
Well, I'm starting a new life.
Thanks for the sandwich, Paula. And hey, Frankie, I just banged your mom. That's exact. That's it.
Yep, I know who.
I just had sex with your mom.
I have a genuine. This is probably my biggest question of the entire movie. When Frank's in L.A., how does he know enough people to throw a party right before he becomes a doctor? Who are all those people? He's on the run.
I love that scene because I think it's just he wants to be. He's grown and he's become friends with people. He lives in
He can't stay in places for a long time.
Complex.
He has to like come and go in a few weeks. It seems like 2-week periods.
He probably just bought like a kilo of Coke and like people just started coming.
Okay, that's fair. It is just like a party in the 60s.
I have no idea, but I think just with his money and stature, I think
probably back then it was grass or heroin, probably. Really.
Question.
I don't think Coke quite hit yet.
Do you guys think if you stayed long enough in the cockpit as he did, you'd pick up like at least kind of? You think you could learn to fly that way?
I'd actually like to bring up that I think most of those instruments do nothing. And it's just there for looks. I think that if I sat there for 10 years, I'd be like, most of these are made up and they don't do a thing. Do you think all those instruments really do anything?
Well, I'm sure they're measuring things. If you need them on the regular.
Are you sure?
No idea, of course. But
I think I'd trust like a 7-year-old who like plays Fortnite every day to land a plane for me rather than me landing a plane for me just looking at. Just watching.
You should. There's not that much flying in Fortnite, Mark. You should pick a flying game.
I just mean like toggles.
I got you. I think I maybe could. One, based on my video game experience.
I don't think you could.
I have a little leg on Leo's character on that. We've played flying games. I get it a little bit. Two, if I sat there for a few months, I think I could pick it up.
I think I could be the co-pilot for 15 years, and when they're like, all right, take the wheel, I'm like, oh, no.
You just fake a feint.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, no. I got that lightheadedness again. But Cameron, he wasn't sitting there for the whole flight. He was trying to get stewardess to have sex with him because he's got a chain.
That's true. He
must have just slipped right off your neck. Okay, I want to bring this up because it's a motif that happens 4 times, and it's the reason we're doing it now. Mm-hmm. I love the Christmas motif and the conversations between Frank and Handratty. Having that said, I think this is in no way a Christmas movie, right? We can all agree, or is there any disagreement?
No, this is a Christmas movie.
I think it lands perfectly between Thanksgiving and like December 1st. I think right around that 15-day period is a great place to watch this movie.
I think this is a good Christmas Day release movie. Love when they released it in real time.
Okay.
Agree. If you saw this movie like during the Christmas time,
this has great emotional Christmas scenes, but this is as much a Christmas movie as oh my god, it just slipped my mind.
Batman 2.
Wow, I would say
hard.
Iron Man 2.
Both of those I would actually say are kind of Christmas movies. I don't know how felonies work, and I know you can't get certain jobs, but it seems like he could have a career in law after this. It seems like he actually learned a profession throughout this.
No way you could be a lawyer after having felonies,
Probably not, but he's also working for the FBI, so who's to say? Maybe they scrub it all.
I don't think you could be anything that would have like a government seal and approval, like to get licensings or whatever.
True, but he did learn a profession through this. Wasn't all.
Is he still alive?
I think so.
I would assume so.
I wonder if they're still, keeping his head to the grindstone.
What, still conning or still?
Is that how you say that?
Oh, you mean working for the FBI?
Yeah, he's got
like in prison.
He's still in that room under the closet, just like
You're still not free, Frank.
So I've never been in prison. Or sentenced to anything and had to work for the FBI, but that's how I feel at work every day. I'm like, hey guys,
how much longer do I have to be?
How long do I gotta like until we tell you to stop? I'm like,
Frank wanted to go back being the mailman and eating.
Oh, I do have a question about that. I guess I don't know to what conviction Frank Abiganale Sr. got, but I didn't think there's any way he could work for the United States Postal Service if he was convicted of anything, because that's a government job too, right?
No government jobs for him.
You're right.
This.
What do we think of Tom Hanks' accent?
Not great. Not
Boston?
great at all. In fact,
it's definitely Boston adjacent.
It's bad enough that I was going to throw it out as a Mount Rushmore option of the wild accents of Tom Hanks, but
it's a northeast city. You pick it.
Mount Rashad.
Yeah, it's not Baltimore, because I know those guys got a weird one, and I only know that because Kathy Bates tried one for a whole season of
this
American
one feels
Horror
pretty
Story.
glaring to me. I don't know.
It's definitely not good, but not enough to ruin it or take me out of it. It's still, he's such a lovable character. It's almost bad enough that it makes it good again. I don't know.
What's weird about this is he's okay.
Him, I think, yeah.
So because it's not our Mount Rushmore, he's definitely done some accents, and he's had like successes and misses, and one of them is obviously The Terminal. Right, that's just supposed to be some Slavic country or whatever. Mm-hmm. So we know he could do every other things. Why did he go so hard in the paint if this isn't a real character? Why not just be Tom
Spielberg
Hanks?
didn't tell him to stop, so no one told him to stop.
Then tell me to stop.
And Frank told him to keep going. Stop.
That was based off them, Cameron.
And
he's not going to tell Tom.
My second question is, has anybody here seen Kelly?
Kelly of the
There we go.
Jumped ahead.
His hair is red and his eyes are blue. I've got that song. I've seen this movie so many times when it came out. This is the first time I've watched it in years, because I truly burned it out as a kid.
Somewhat the same.
That I'm like, I was regretting watching this. I'm like, oh, this is going to be homework for the podcast.
I could have done this without watching it.
Oh, I could have easily done it. I'm glad I watched it for some of the nuances.
Times.
But having that said, here's a question to you guys. Once you got into it, once you got like into the cons past the school time, you're like, God, I'm in. I'm hooked. I'm going to watch this movie.
It takes until the airport con starts for me, and then it just literally takes off from there.
The airport con, for me, it's right when he starts, like when we see like the model plane soaking in the bath, and he's starting to forge the checks.
Love that
montage,
visualization.
like the montage scene.
I like the montage.
The montage is good.
It's a good montage.
And it really doesn't, I mean, it has, all movies have a little bit of lows, but I think they add to them. But all the way till the end, I'm in this movie, and I've seen it a lot of times.
It's a long movie, but it doesn't feel like you're sitting there for 2.5 hours.
No, and if Tom Hanks would have just checked that wallet, he could have been 2 hours shorter.
Yeah, right.
Love that. There's so many scenes that you love every moment of them, and that's just another example.
Are you taking the money from young Frank if you're old Frank?
Yeah.
You taking the car?
I'm not taking everything. I'm not taking the car.
I'm taking absolutely everything.
The IRS is going to find that car, and they're going to take that from me.
Yeah.
I'm taking
you can give me
small unmarked bills on
that's what I'm looking for.
Taking plane tickets. I'm going to that wedding.
Yeah, sure.
You going, Frank?
You can fly me around and
to
stuff.
give me some ones and fives?
Although, I mean, then it's going to be like, where'd you get those tickets? We're looking for your son. When did you last see your son? There's a lot of issues with that.
Oh, I guess at that point, he already knew that the FBI is looking for him.
Yeah, he needs cash at that point. I'll buy my own ticket with cash. And I'm sure they didn't need as much ID and credentials back then to fly. So, I mean, go on a fake name.
I don't think you needed any credentials. I think you just needed a ticket with any name. I don't think
easy.
It's fun how throughout the movie, Frank and Carl speak to each other, but they only have that one interaction until the end of the movie. They only are face to face like twice, right?
Although technically at the airport, but Carl doesn't know. I have an animosity on that. Even when the FBI agents say it, he could just rent a car, drive anywhere in the country, and fly out of there. That's 100% what he should have done instead of setting up a contest at a college and having.
But I'm not in New York. And I'm not in Atlanta.
I'm not.
Where did he get the pianist?
I'm not in New York.
Where did he get all the resources for this contest?
So okay.
Also, if I'm Brenda, I missed those instructions, and I'm not at the airport at 10 a.m. or wherever I need to be in my.
And I definitely stuffed at least a handful of those bills in my panties. I'm keeping some of it somewhere.
Ooh, got a real big question about Brenda and her situation with her parents. She is again disowned, right? That's
probably. She just brought a whole other level of shame.
I feel the worst for her. She lost so much.
She really did.
She almost had it all.
Yeah, there's a bit.
Brenda might be pushing mail. Like she might have gotten caught up in that.
Hopefully, she didn't leave
Brenda
the hospital.
Might be pushing daisies. I feel like that was probably a pretty sad ending. Is my guess. Like I feel Brenda's on security watch. Brenda. Like that's gotta be bad because she already got. You know, she had her procedure. She had the abortion. Her parents wrote her off.
Hey, but they got duped too, so maybe they'll be a little more understanding, but probably not.
No, they're going to be angry, and they're going to have to take it out on someone, and it's going to be Brenda. Like that's my guess. Brenda's. Let's see.
Her dad hated her, by the way.
Oh, he did to begin with.
What do you see in her?
You seem like a good con guy. I don't trust you a bit. What are you with? He wasn't looking out for her. He's like, what do you see?
A lawyer and a doctor and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, and a Lutheran. Although you're not a Lutheran.
That's what.
I'm not a Lutheran. That's actually one of the funnier parts of the movie.
That's a great part of this whole movie is just the like interlaced comedy, even in the serious moments and like the crime moments.
I mean, after this movie, one of my favorite things to say for a while was, knock, knock. Go fuck yourself.
That was a good joke. I actually remember Dad quite liking that joke. Really leaning into it.
And even the setup of the second one.
Where want to hear a joke.
Want to hear a joke. Yeah, and just let it ride. Yeah. This has nothing to do with anything except the call when Frank is trying to give up and be like, hey, Carl, could you just leave me alone? When he's in the New Orleans bar around Christmas. Love that bar.
I want
to drink there.
It's a nice looking bar.
That's all I'm saying. I really want to drink there. I do not want to drink where Frank Abiganale Sr. is a postman. I don't want to be there at all. I'm not a dive bar guy. Never have been. I know some people are.
Question to you guys. What's your favorite life he lived? What's your favorite con of his?
I mean, obviously,
Pilot's the most fun. That's the most adventurous one. There's too much baggage with the Brenda, doctor, lawyer stuff.
A lot of baggage with Brenda.
Yeah.
But I will say the doctor stuff, that whole apartment complex, this is mint linen or whatever he says, the fondue. That was some swinging times. That was like the swinging 60s.
True. He was having some fun
that wasn't too bad. That was a little fun. If we could have leaned into that more, it would have been enjoyable. But it's obviously the
James Bond era. There's a nice window in there where he's wearing suits and kind of being a pilot, kind of looking for a new con.
He's kind of in between. He's trying on identities.
He just has all the checks that he could. Is there a point where he could have stopped and been okay?
Yeah, I think the whole time.
In fact, when he's talking to Brenda, he's like, there's enough money in here to last us for the rest of our lives, Brenda. The rest of our lives.
It is in cash.
But at that time, he was trying to get out of the game, though. He was trying to settle down and go legit. So, I mean, he had the money. He took the suitcases with him. So theoretically, yeah, he didn't have to keep going.
I honestly think, though, once he left the United States and went overseas, if he had not continued crimes there, he would have been fine.
Yeah.
He could have just lived overseas.
I think so too.
Like the entire
I don't
time.
Think he would have been extradited. I don't think the governments would have cared about him as long as he wasn't defrauding them.
Because even Handratty was like, they're like, you're at your end of your leash here. Like you're not going to find him.
If you can't catch him in Miami or wherever the hell they were, you're not going to catch him overseas.
Yeah.
But
he did. Well, he was right because he was bagged at a grocery store from a wanted poster.
What's your stop bringing up the facts. We're not here for the facts. Boo this man.
I don't want to go on a quoting, but I want to mention a couple of the quotes that I loved. The two mice, obviously. The why do the Yankees always win? They're always staring at the pinstripes. Why didn't I concur?
Oh,
Love
the
that
concur
one.
actually hits hard.
This movie didn't teach me the word concur, but I sure used it a hell of a lot after it.
Why didn't I concur?
I used it way more than I did, yeah.
Cameron touched on the "you're not a Lutheran," the knock joke. Where you going, Frank?
Someplace exotic?
Where you going? Someplace exotic? Sometimes I'll bust that out on like camera, like, where you going? You going someplace exotic? Ooh, can I make a side note? When he takes a bite of the eclair, I'm like, that's a big bite.
That's a good eclair. It looks like a good eclair, though.
Especially,
you're coming from France on an airline. You assume they're going to have the pastries.
No. That's coming from the airline, though. Those days are gone. I'll tell you that. Smoking and those days are gone. Getting a eclair on a plane. Things I want to say is just the look of this movie is so great. The lighting, the cinematography. Just, I love this movie so much.
Of course, beloved by the Cold Classic Podcast. We quote it all the time. It's a great Spielberg, Leo, Hanks movie. All three of them knock it out of the park. Walken. Well, let us know some of your favorite parts of this movie, but we're going to move it on to recasting. It's a pretty big star-studded cast this week, but we're just going to keep it pretty simple. The main ones are going to probably start with Brenda. Did anyone have any lower people than that?
No, I don't think it's. I think it's worth doing anything too much lower than that.
Brenda.
Brenda.
I have two that I'm fine with, but I'm just going to put Isla Fisher.
That makes sense. A little looks like.
Yeah, a little looks like there. Yeah, I did Kirsten Dunst.
Ooh, I kind of like that.
I could see that working.
Because go back and listen to our...
Less looks like, but still could work.
No, she just feels right. Kind of like naive, I guess, is the recurring theme of
Which
this
is kind of Brenda.
That's what you need.
Mine may not be great, but I went Rachel McAdams. Notebook era
work, yeah.
Rachel McAdams.
Yep.
Yeah, I could see that working in there. What would you think of Bryce Dallas Howard?
Stick it with the red-haired shirt.
Yeah.
Cameron's going straight doppelganger here.
And good actresses.
How about who's in Zero Dark 30? Jessica Chastain, shall we?
There we go. And then when we filled out the roster, those are all the people who could have done it.
Molly Ringwald, if it was in the 80s.
Like,
where do we stop?
Has to be redhead.
I mean, it could be so many people. Mine wasn't like crazy inspired.
Do we want to move it on to
either.
Paula, Frank's mother?
Mm-hmm. Let's do it.
I tried to keep it French. I only had one actress on the top of my head. It was Marion Cotillard.
Everybody has it. Yep, that's all three of ours, I assume, right?
It's not mine. I did just someone foreign with an actress, Selma Hayek.
Oh,
yeah, sure.
We're switching
I like
France
that
to
better.
Mexico.
Yeah, that's fine.
I mean, he good for,
Yeah, that works.
Frank
World War
Sr.
II.
Well, she was overseas. It was a world war, Cameron. She was helping the troops or something.
Cameron's pulling out all the facts now.
Jordan.
I as well went with Cameron because I don't know enough French actresses.
She's in Inception and a bunch of other things, but that's other than that.
She's in the Christopher Nolan metaverse.
True. Let's move it on to Frank Sr. This one was hard for me, kind of harder than the main two.
Yeah, this one was.
This
hard.
one jumped off the page, and I feel like every time I say this, I'm saying the same name, and I'm not happy about it. But Michael Keaton would kill this role.
Well, you know what? I actually had him down as my option, so I'm going to say that's actually kind of a good one. Con man, lovable guy.
Michael, a little wink in your eye. Let him do the to my speech. I'm in.
A little goofy, a little wacky, lovable though. That's the important part.
Yeah, then if you guys are, you beat me out then. I did John Voight.
I get that.
Yeah, that works for me too.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
I did Gene
I will
Hackman.
say
Two
this-
against one, it's fine.
I did Gene Hackman as my backup, then someone else who'd be kind of maybe
so weird.
What?
Oh, Gene Hackman. I thought you meant Gene Wilder. Sorry.
Oh no. You know what? Gene Wilder wouldn't be great, too weird.
You went right to Gene Wilder.
I'm on a roll, so I'm going to try it. Two little mice!
You've had better.
All right, take it out.
You've had better Wilder yells than that.
I think he could have done it. It's a Michael Caine role as well.
I thought so too, but you get the accents in
The
the
accent, yeah,
But
yeah,
it would
I
be
scrolled
it would be
across it.
perfect for him.
He's got to be
But, like,
distinguished, which Michael Caine is, but also kind of funny.
He's got
which
that little
Keaton
wink
is, you
at
know?
you, yeah. So, but I like Mike Keaton, I really do. I don't feel good about anything except him in my recasting, actually.
Well, let's try again. We have Carl, and I'm just throwing out another just chalk one I do all the time. Jeff Bridges. I don't know.
Yeah, same. I wasn't happy when I wrote it down, but Carl was really hard for me.
Yeah, it was another hard one.
Strayed away from him because I think Jeff Bridges relies on this
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
thing
yeah.
too much. And I feel like
he does. You need a younger version of him, yeah.
it may have been his first time doing it. I don't know. So I was just trying to find someone else. Robin Williams.
I don't mind that, actually.
Someone who can just be also a little bit. He's not really out in the field that much because that was Handratty. He doesn't know how to pull a gun. Kind of flashes his badge the wrong way.
He's got to play.
I don't know,
straight. Like real straight.
It would be straight. It would not be any. You wouldn't see a lot of Rob Williamsisms.
The weird thing about this role is I think you could put so many people there, but because of the weird accent that Tom Hanks did, it made it super hard. You're like, get that accent out of my hair. So I'm like, Jeff Bridges is definitely not doing that.
I'm going to throw something real weird at you. Nicolas Cage.
I scrolled across him too. Yeah,
he would commit to a character as well.
I'm gonna be weird because I also thought him as here, and I know I'm going too much, but I also think Michael Keaton could do that role well.
I also thought that as well.
I'll tell you a weird. Okay, so I'll tell you this is one that I think of way too much. Philip Seymour Hoffman, kind of let him play with it. I know if you listen, I appreciate the listens. And I say his name too much, but I think he's talented. I did contemplate Kevin Costner, but it seemed like too serious or something.
I had him, and my other one was Kurt Russell. Could probably.
Okay. Oh, Kurt Russell actually.
Some of these might be too straight, though.
Kurt Russell though can get silly.
It needs to be though. Yeah, you only need a little bit of silliness, out of this character.
Yeah. I guess. So I'm sure there's a lot of good characters.
Silly.
Yeah.
With that, do we want to move on to our main character?
I've
Frank
got
Abiganale.
6 written down. I don't know which one I'm gonna pick.
I have one. And I feel great about it. Matt Damon.
Oh, that's what.
Okay, so I definitely thought of Matt Damon. That's not my one. I get it.
I'll pick another one.
It's got to be a little younger. I'm getting him. Talented Mr.
Perfect.
Ripley, somewhere in that area.
It's talented Mr. Ripley, and I think it all joined in our head because they played against each other in The Departed.
Yeah,
and I think you could role reverse them for either one there.
Yeah.
So I do agree with that, and he's charming enough, and talented Mr. Ripley does play into it.
No, that's why I did Robin Williams against him, like sort of like Good Will Hunting type.
That's
thing.
who my castings were too. Yeah.
Anyways, who's your actual, or who you gonna pick now?
I'll get my number one, and then I'll give you my backup after once we go through it. But I did go on the cusp. Ryan Gosling.
He's on my
Notebook era. Yeah, of course he is, and I don't feel great about it, but. I want to see a little bit younger, like Notebook era Ryan Gosling, and let him cook and see what happens.
I'll pick
he's
for my
kind of funny too.
No, yeah, he can be coy a little bit, like Jake Gyllenhaal.
I don't mind that either. Yeah. I think Jake Gyllenhaal's underrated. Megs and I talked about. What do you think about Johnny Depp? Kind of like
maybe.
Funny enough, that was a casting. What if?
Yeah,
Well, was it?
You'd have to get him young, but yeah, that works.
That's who Spielberg wanted, I think, before Leo.
I probably should have said that. I think Johnny Depp would have been good.
That's a pretty good one.
I would have I would have loved to see him with Spielberg as a director to see what how they did it. Don't you think it could be more charming than he normally is, or something different?
I'd like to see that. See how that turns
also,
out.
Rose, if you're still listening, I had Joseph Gordon-Levitt. That comes up.
That would work. That works for me.
Oh, I like that a lot.
He hasn't been around
Rose,
in a
if
while.
you're still here.
Rose, if you're still listening, I think Mark just pulled out the W. I like that a lot.
That's a good one.
He'd actually be really good, and I haven't even. I think we overdid him.
We have to put all these people at the right age, right? I mean, we're putting that.
But what's good about him? He's got that boyish adult look.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. Yep.
With that, do you guys want to hear a couple of what ifs I came across?
Yeah, let's hear them.
First off, this was originally getting developed in the 80s. The book was written quite a while ago. And originally it was going to star...
when was the book written, if you don't... Sorry to interrupt.
I don't know exactly. Sometime in the 70s.
70s, 4 maybe?
I'll get you that answer while you're going through facts.
Thank you.
The 80s version was going to star Dustin Hoffman as Frank Abiganale Jr.
Don't like that.
Don't love it.
I like Dustin Hoffman.
I don't know about that.
There was another... I don't think this was this... It couldn't have been. The role of Carl at one point was going to go to James Gandolfini. He was actually pretty attached to the project, but ended up doing something else.
I could see him as a cop, though, like an agent. I could see
it'd be gruffer for sure.
Here's one that we didn't think of, maybe a little gruffer. When there was another director attached to it, they wanted... Ed Harris was considered for Carl.
Yeah,
100% thought that. I didn't write it down. I mean, I wrote it down, but I didn't say it. Ed Harris belongs as Carl. He'd do it.
Ed Harris is a Carl in all of his movies, really. He's just that. He's a cop.
He's Carl.
He's an astronaut. He's whatever he is.
Having this said, he'd killed the knock knock joke.
True.
I'd love to hear him do it. Book was published in 1980.
1980. Okay.
Oh, wow.
That's all we had this week. Let us know what you thought of our recasting. But with that, we're going to move it on to Mount Rushmore, top 4.
Mount Rushmore, top 4.
Mount Rushmore, top 4. This week, we're doing our top Leo movies. We're going to go Mark, me, Jordan this week. Mark, what's your top Leo movie?
Without a doubt, it's got to be Critters 3.
Really?
No, I'm just
I
kidding.
thought it was Critters 2.
No. I always hate when this happens, so I don't want to do it. It's Catch Me If You Can. It is. It's this movie.
It is, though. This is
Not a wrong answer.
I'll exclude this one, but yeah.
I hate when it is the movie that we do this, but I just at least have to be honest with myself.
I think
Not
this is my favorite movie of his. Now, I think there's other performances that may be better,
Sure.
or whatever. And so I'm torn between two. So I'm going to tell you my favorite movie of his that's not Catch Him If You Can.
After me, because you're third, buddy.
Oh, okay.
He's trying to.
Yeah.
You see how he did that?
Stay tuned. Sorry.
My honest number one answer, I think, is Inception. I love that movie as a whole. It's my favorite Nolan movie. It's not maybe my favorite Leo performance
movie,
but it might be. I do like it a lot. But the whole ensemble cast, we got Gordon Levitt's really popped in that one. I love Inception. I do.
So you guys just took it to me. That's like 1, 2, and I'm gonna come with my 3 that you guys may not, but it's got to be Aviator.
I'd agree with you.
It's got to be The Aviator. That's probably his best acting performance, right?
Probably. It's another long one.
I don't know,
but it is a great movie. That's one I don't put on near enough.
God, I thought we were gonna have 3 What's Eating Gilbert Grapes, but I'm glad that we.
Did that airplane movie come directly after Catch Me If You Can?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah, it was like 2 years later.
I think at that time I was like I don't know, 8th grader. I'm like, this guy's just doing plane movies.
This is what he does.
This guy's just a pilot.
More recently, I'll throw out my first honorable mention. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was a great movie. I liked it a lot.
I love his performance in that, like that character that he plays, especially where he's having the meltdown. Actually, he's really funny in that movie.
Yeah, that actually might be up there also as one of his better performances, man.
It's kind of fun where he's at in his career. Obviously, he can be the leading man in movies still, but like he's a highlighted character actor now because he's getting a little bit older. But in Django, I don't like that character, but his performance is funny, obviously.
But it is hard
impactful.
to like him in that movie for obvious
the character's obviously applicable. I'm gonna say I don't know. I know that he got bugged, and this is the only one I'll say for honorable mentions. There's tons of them. Mm-hmm. I like this movie, and I know people don't like his accent, but I think Blood Diamond's a good movie, and people forgot about it. And I'm just saying it.
Hand up that was gonna be my. I liked Blood Diamond a lot.
I like Blood Diamond as a movie, and however people feel about that,
we mentioned it a bunch, but none of us actually mentioned The Departed. That's obviously up there. It's a big movie.
Out for Men, that might be Wolf of Wall Street. I like that. I mean, it's just it's that kind of. Who did that? Scorsese.
People really hate
Scorsese.
The Gatsby movie he was in, but I didn't hate it.
I'm not a big that director fan. I think his style doesn't.
I get it. I get why people kind of hated it. But
it's too much.
I like movies like The Revenant and like True Grit, so I like The Revenant too. But
we'd be remiss.
Not an easy watch.
It's longy. It's beautiful though.
I mean, we do have to mention, and I know we're not going to name every movie, but Titanic's in.
Yeah, I mean, Titanic.
It just has to be
on this list. And I feel like
what the fuck?
The last one I'll throw out is probably just Romeo and Juliet. That was huge at the time in the 90s. When he was riding that heartthrob wave.
There's obviously more people, but before we list them all,
yep, that's it.
Maybe we just cut us there.
Yeah.
Happy holidays. We're going to get into some deeper hits next time, at least for the season, but if somebody requests a movie that I love, we'll do it.
Someone love the requests. Keep those coming in. Thanks, Rose.
Thanks for listening to our take on Catch Me If You Can. If you like what you heard, make sure to like and subscribe on your favorite podcast app, rate and review. If you want more content, check out the entire Majestic Jam Network, I'm Not Crazy, Urban Hermit, and the Highwire Podcast. Until then, check in the next one. Bye. Bye.